Good day, everyone, especially to our subject instructor, Miss Lucinita Alvertudes, and we are going to discuss about the chapter 2 entitled Literary Texts and Activity Enhancers. And let's proceed to the learning objectives. At the end of the discussion, the students will be able to identify the different literary texts with activity enhancers. Second, to know the sample integrated approach activity enhancers. Third, to find out what author's testimony based on a written stories. And the last one is to define a critical reading illustrated on schooling. These are the members of the team: yours truly, Ferlime Blasquez, Agnes Ariati, Mr. Elemer Bacolon, Miss J. Marjorie Bagkat, and Miss April Bu. These are the subtopics for today to be discussed. Topic number 1 is literary text with activity or exercises for reading and writing to be reported by me and Miss April Bu. Topic number 2, sample integrated approach activity enhancers to be presented by Miss Agnes Ariate. Topic number 3, author's testimony based on a written story by Mr. Bucolon. And the last one is topic number 4, critical reading illustrated to be reported or discussed by Miss Marjorie Bagkat. Let's define first what is literary text. Literary text is a piece of writing, such as a book or poem, that has a purpose of telling a story or entertaining in a fictional novel. Its primary functions as a text is usually static, but it may also contain political message or beliefs. These are the literary texts with activity enhancers or exercises for reading and writing. First, text-based drawing. Second, summary or synthesis tombstone. Third, mind maps. Fourth, character silhouettes. 5. The Spirit of Christmas. 6. Tweet sheets, literary postcards, personal chest, word art, challenge theme collage, collaborative poetry, and literary theme parks. Text-based drawing is a creative way to get students to use evidence from the text. Asking students to cite evidence for every single question they answered when reading and responding to a text might be good practice, but ensure that they are close to reading. But it also becomes repetitive. One way to mix things up is to ask students to draw a picture and label it based on the details from the text. For example, as my students did a close reading for the passage from chapter 1 of Mice and Men, they looked for the differences between the main character, George, and Lenny. They used one color or symbol for George and another color and symbol for Lenny. Lots of students busted out their highlighter collection or colored pencil, but underlining and circling and starring, etc. works too. This hands-on activity will engage your visual learners and non-aesthetic artistic students. A slight variation of this activity would be to make copies of the one pages or page that you would like students to pull evidence from. Students could then cut out the details describing the characters, settings, etc., and can glue it into their drawing. Summarize and synthesize tombstone. This activity can be used as an extension activity or an assessment of students' knowledge of an author, character, or historical figure. You can ask students to summarize or synthesize information from multiple sources. A great activity to do in these days leading up to Halloween. Cut out and hang your tombstone to spookify your classroom. The third one is mind maps. Mind mapping is a visual representation of ideas, a combination of words and images that can be used with fiction or nonfiction texts. This strategy particularly appeals to visual learners as well as to ESL or special education student whose vocabulary may be limited or for whom writing is a struggle. When working with the nonfiction text, a mind map could be used to summarize main ideas and supporting details. It could also be used to synthesize information for multiple texts. Asking students to create a mind map rather than fill in a graphic organizer focus students to pull out key ideas rather than just copying details and whole sentences. They have to practice the information to organize it in a meaningful way rather than just regurgitate it. If your students' first time using mind maps, mind them throughout the activity to only use keywords and phrases, to incorporate images as much as possible. This forces students who haven't read the text closely the first time to return to the text. Fourth is character silhouette. Is a perfect activity for the close reading of characters as a figure from the assigned or selected fiction or nonfiction text. Like literary postcard, character silhouettes are an activity that can be used with any level and can be used to reinforce the ideas of characters and characterization. This activity can be done during or after reading with any short story, novel, play, or nonfiction. By this activity, you may have all students in a class focus on the same character or have different group focusing on different character. Whether you allow students to select a character or you assign one of them, you can later group students who are focused on the same character. This independent analysis can be used for accountability or for grading and ensures that all students are participating once they join a group. The fifth is the spirit of Christmas. This activity is designed for use during or after reading any novel, whole class novel study or independent reading or short story. It is similar to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Students will select a character and his or her weaknesses to analyze after identifying and illustrating scenes that reveal the character's flaws. Students will determine a message to be shared by the ghost of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. The sixth is Twitch Sheets is a creative lesson of characterization and point of view. It is a group activity which students listed six characters from their own novel and describe each characters using evidence from the text. Using these descriptions, they created possible Twitter handles for characters. On the reverse side, students listed three events that occurred so far in their novel. At the end of the class, students were given a packet of tweet sheets to complete as they continue reading to their selected novel. The six remaining literary text activity or enhancers in reading and writing will be discussed by Miss April Boo.